Good evening. I would like to call the City of Mount Vernon City Council meeting for Wednesday, March 12th to order. The time is now 7:03. Would you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on our agenda is the roll call of council members. I'll ask our city clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Beaton. Here. Councilmember Brocksmith.
Here.
Councilmember Correas.
Here.
Councilmember Hudson.
It's excused tonight.
Councilmember Molinar.
Here.
Councilmember Cicero.
Here.
Councilmember Vanderstoop.
Here.
Thanks, Becky. The approval of tonight's council meeting agenda. Any proposed changes to the agenda, or would council like to adopt it?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Navor and a second by Gary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Right, item 3 on the agenda is community comments. If there's anyone present in city council chambers here tonight that would like to address council, please come on up, state your name, city of residence, and please limit your comments to about 3 minutes.
3 minutes? Cool. Got an extra minute. Hi, everybody. Ed Johnson. I live downtown currently, but I'm in the process of moving because under Social Security disability, I cannot afford to live in the city of Mount Vernon in low income. I'm paying more than half my income to the rent of a low income establishment, Skagit Housing Authority, President's Hotel or whatever it's called. So I'm really distraught because all I've been doing is surviving, and that's not living, and that's not my retirement plan. It was never just to survive. So I'm heading out. The other thing is I'm really glad to see some more cameras and stuff downtown Mount Vernon. That's why I'm wearing this orange constantly, is because I've almost been hit with this orange in the crosswalks on 2nd Street in particular. But there's others I'm sure could speak to that. The other is glad to see the library. It looks like it's almost 100% fully functional. The parking is now open 24/7, but my understanding is it may not be long-term. In other words, I was hoping the residents, I've already got another parking ticket because there's insufficient parking downtown. And that's what the judge wrote on my ticket when she dismissed it. Therefore, I'm hoping that things could transition over to the library parking for a couple of days anyways, because a lot of residents, especially in my building, are seniors and disabled, and many don't go running out every day, much less every 3 hours. And another problem that we have in the city, especially where I am, there's only one disabled parking spot, and it's supposedly illegal, which is funny because it doesn't satisfy the current state requirements. I'm getting really tired of these state requirements. I couldn't even buy beer the other day because I didn't have a state or a government valid ID. Why? Because I was getting an enhanced one, and they gave me a piece of paper. And I thought, I can't buy beer at 64. What the heck? You know, there's something very, very wrong. And I'm getting real tired of lawmakers making stupid laws that nobody's enforcing to begin with. So I'm hoping things get set backwards. I was just at the meeting with Skagit Housing Authority, and they're actually developing plans and so on, but they're having so much regulatory compliance issues that it's just too much. And in my day, we had 1 or 2 compliances that would satisfy everybody, and there's probably 12 different regulatory plus customers. So I'm just saying, in military, aerospace, we simplified. We kept the KISS system, and it's still usable today. Let's keep it simple, and you know the rest. Anyways, that's all I got to say. See you guys later.
Thanks, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else wishing to address council tonight?
Christine Conert, Mount Vernon, Washington. And I just have to revisit the January 22nd episode. I was not here to witness it, but I saw it on YouTube, and ever since then I've had this tape playing in my head of a training that I had years ago. Early in my nursing career, I worked emergency room. I saw rape cases and domestic violence, and this was a training at Skagit County Health Department about 40 years ago for the staff. And the video opens, and it shows some men standing around cooler. And one of them was sort of telling the story about his wife and making a joke out of hitting her. And the people around the cooler sort of laughed and chuckled. And then it later shows, the impacts on the wife who was beaten. And that sort of, really made me think about messaging. And there's an understanding that if you find a situation humorous, you're also condoning that behavior, that somehow it softens the harm. And so I call it harmful humor. And I just, you have to wonder how many people saw this on YouTube, or how many people saw it in the newspaper, how many people did not hear the apologies. And I think we have to be really, really careful when we start joking around about incidents that were painful to people. And I just need to share that because, I still, every time I hear that story, that's what plays in my head, was that video training that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Good evening. I'm Jerry Douglas, and I'm here representing the board for the Senior Center in Mount Vernon. I'm here along with some other people from the Senior Center to make you council people aware that we are seeking a solution to replacing the senior center that's located in Mount Vernon. You probably are aware that the senior centers served the community as an elementary school since, I don't know, the 30s. And then sometime later, I think it was in the 50s, it was converted to maybe a senior center. I may have my dates wrong, but I know that the county purchased it and converted it to a senior center. And here we are at 2025. And the county now tells us that the building, well, they told us the building has aged out. And I look at myself in the mirror and I wonder, well, we all are aging out, but we still need services. So we're forming a group at the senior center to support a solution. And we hope that you council people here in Mount Vernon will be open to helping us find a solution. I may not live to see the solution come to fruition, but we all have to make an impact in our community. And this is certainly a needed service and facility. Our director, I don't know if she's here or not, our director has all the statistics of how many seniors in Skagit County and particularly Mount Vernon attend the senior center on a regular basis, and how many community members attend the senior center. It provides spaces for meetings, for various organizations, et cetera. So it's definitely a needed facility. So we look forward to working with the council here at the city and hopefully find a solution to replace the senior center. I'm sure that you all know that the senior center is owned by the county and it sits on county property, but it's located here in the city. The county also provides all the services for the senior center. So the solution may be not just a city solution, but maybe a county city solution. We don't know. But we're going to be here and make our needs known. And I just wanted to address you and give you a heads up that we're going to be here at your council meetings to remind you that we're not going away. At least today we're not. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Good to see you.
Joan Cross, and I just have a question. If the bridge that comes across the river, is there any plan to improve that or replace that?
Joan, this time is just designed for kind of one-way communication, but I want to follow up and get you a good answer for that. Can you make sure that the city clerk has your name and contact information?
Oh,
We'll reach out to you tomorrow and get you answers.
okay, thank
And
you.
maybe even a phone call if you leave your phone number there. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi there. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I'm Joseph Shea with Sketch County Parks and Recreation. I believe you have an item in front of you today regarding a boundary line adjustment and an interlocal agreement regarding our bathroom upgrade we're hoping on doing there. I just wanted to let you know I'm appreciative that it's here in front of you all, and I'm here for any questions. I know we've been working with your team, Kevin, and some of your people over here as well, Steve. And I'm just here for any questions when it comes, but I appreciate you looking it over and seeing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Anyone else? All right. Item 4, tonight's consent agenda. It includes meeting minutes, payroll checks, wire transfers, claims, and agreement. Would council like to move for adoption of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Navor and a second by Edis. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. And motion passes. Consent agenda is approved. Item 5 is committee reports. For committee reports tonight, council held its Public Works and Library meeting at 6 p.m. Councilmember Hudson is absent tonight. She normally chairs that committee, but Councilmember Molinar stepped up and has the report for that committee. Gary.
Okay, we opened the meeting tonight at 6 o'clock. First up, we had Isaac Huffman, our library director, give us an update on that. Also, the whole building as a whole. Right now, the parking garage is open 24 hours a day. That is being monitored by cameras and then also on site. So it's a very safe facility to be parking in, which is great. The kitchen will be done probably in May. We've had rentals of our space that is available to rent. There was 11 rentals in the month of March. He also gave us some updates on programs. Crafternoon that meets 2 times a month, and there's also a new chess club that is had over 24 people, our kids involved in that too. They meet twice a month. He also talked about Daniel Brown, what a great community storyteller event that was. Also, he gave one little update on Hoopla, which is library ebooks, and we are ending that contract and looking for something that is more affordable. Then we moved on to surface water utility and flood division. Blaine Chesterfield introduced Brown and Caldwell, and they gave a presentation on the city's draft 2025 stormwater management program. The draft can be found on the city's website for further review. The city remains in compliance with the municipal stormwater permit, and comments regarding the program need to be submitted to the Public Works by Friday, March 21st. He also talked about, Blaine talked about the Seneca Culvert Debris Removal Project that is moving forward with permitting, and the plan is to complete the culvert and channel cleaning this summer. Then he also talked about the Skagit Highlands slope monitoring update. Apparently things are looking good on that. It hasn't slid any more than it has, and there seems to be some pretty good stability on the slope. Then Frank Reinhardt gave us a TIP update, presented the projects moved in from idea stage to candidate inclusion into the 2026-2031 TIP update. Not a comprehensive tally of all transport projects needed by the city, projects sorted. He had them into three different categories: pedestrian bicycle improvements, intersection improvements, and complete street improvement projects. Just a couple in each one of these was the Colshan Trail Safety Lighting, phase 2, 3, and 4. There was some crosswalk improvements. Intersection improvements were Riverside Drive, Pacific Place intersections, 18th Street, and then also complete streets improved projects or Martin Road, Digby completed streets improvements, Broad Street realignment, to name a few. Then we moved on with Kevin gave us a little bit of an update on the tenant protection ordinance that we're looking at, and briefed us on the kind of logistics and introduction phase of that. And we closed the meeting at 7:00.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for covering for Mary as well.
Oh, you bet.
Next up is the report on Public Safety Committee, and Councilmember Navarro Tercero is the Public Safety Chair. Councilmember Tercero.
Thank you, Mayor. So last week, we had our Public Safety Committee meeting, and first up, we had our Animal Control Officer, Emily Willett, come in and speak to us. And she came in to, first of all, educate us, describe to us what the current process and procedure is for acquiring tags for pets. And she outlined some of the current processes for that. Dogs over 20 weeks, cats over 12 weeks must be licensed by ordinance here in the city of Mount Vernon. Licensed animals must wear Mount Vernon license tags. Spayed and neutered animals get a free license for life. Intact animal licenses are set at $50 and must renew annually. Proof of current rabies vaccination and spay and neuter must be presented, and these records are kept on file by our police department. So Emily outlined some of the challenges that we face when it comes to animal control for enforcing these animal tags. And because of some of those challenges, she left us with a proposal for us to consider changing our city ordinance. And so that would involve repealing our current license ordinance, replacing that with a requirement for dogs and cats to be microchipped, and to add a rabies vaccination equipment or requirement, I'm sorry. So that is something that the council will be considering here in the future. So I'm sure that we would be open to whatever comment that the residents of the city of Mount Vernon would like to see us include in that ordinance. Secondly, we had our interim fire chief come and give us an operational overview, and he presented us with data, graphs about the typical day here in the city of Mount Vernon when calls for service come in, when we have the peaks of those, when that subsides. So he presented us with that, the monthly incident graph, so that we're able to see how that looks on an annual basis. Just including into that response statistics over the last year. And so, yeah, that's what he presented us with there. Finally, as a part of our miscellaneous in our committee, it was brought up to consider a resolution that was proposed to the council, and so we discussed that. I think everybody on council had a chance to give their opinions about what we should consider in that resolution. The recommendation that came out of that discussion was that we form an ad hoc committee that the mayor will direct, and we will include residents from the city of Mount Vernon in order to have that discussion over how we can best address the issues that were presented in that discussion.
Thank you, board. Item 5B is council member comments. Council, do you have anything you'd like to say? Yes, Councilmember Brocksmith.
Yeah, I have a few events that are happening next week that I want to share with the general public in order to potentially increase participation among the general public if folks want to attend. And so I'll start off with one that is Tuesday afternoon. It's a Skagit Housing Consortium. It's a small nonprofit with a bunch of members who are all invested in expanding the availability and affordability of housing. And we meet monthly on third Tuesday, the 18th. So it'll be next Tuesday, regularly the third Tuesday of each month. It's hosted by the Economic Development Alliance of Skagit County through a Teams meeting. And so if folks are interested in that, we're going to have a legislative update from Representative Alex Rammel about all the housing bills that are happening in the legislature this year and starting to wrap up there. So it's very timely for folks if you want to know what's happening at the state legislature. And a presentation how to use geographic information systems and mappings to look at housing and economic development in communities. Also very timely with all the comprehensive plans going on. So that's again next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Through the Economic Development Alliance of Skagit County. Okay, so second on the list, just want to make sure I have the right information here. Oops, okay. Is the Host Homes Town Hall. So Host Homes is a program that's being looked at by Skagit YMCA and several other partners. And it's something, folks may know that in Skagit County, in the McKinney-Vento program that tracks homeless youth and families, there's over 800 kids in Skagit County who are homeless or underhoused. And, we do have some shelter space, but very, very little compared to the need for housing for kids. And so next Tuesday, and I'm going to come up with the exact time, and I know it is at the Library Commons, and the meeting is Tuesday evening from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at our library. They'll be hosting a town hall to learn about a program they're looking at called Host Homes. And host homes are essentially something less than foster homes, where you find folks who are, heavily vetted and sanctioned and heavily supported with staffing to host youth who are underhoused in your homes or in friends' homes. And even if you can't host youth in your home, there's a lot of smaller things that people can do to support the program. And that's what they want to share Tuesday evening at the library is maybe you have the ability to help support youth through jobs or through tutoring. Or to support a family who is a host home and supporting them through food and other donations. There's just a wide range of how we can, especially in today's times, work together to support some of the youth in our community who right now are in between stable homes. So I hope that people would consider coming and learning about that and sharing that information with your neighbors if possible. And then finally, on Wednesday, March 19th, the Mount Vernon Hope Coalition is having a meeting at the Skagit YMCA. So Mount Vernon Hope stands for Healthy Outcomes Through Prevention Education. So it's essentially how we provide better information and resources to youth to help them avoid using opioids in particular and other drugs in our community. So they have a great program set up at, did I say noon? 12 to 1:30 at the Skagit YMCA next week. And they would love to have more people who are interested in this topic join them and help them in that ongoing effort. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Richard. Some good stuff. Other comments, council?
Really quickly.
Yeah.
Encouraged to see that the senior center showed up and to ask for support. And I was wondering when would be an appropriate time for me to ask if we could formally ask Skagit County if we could cooperate with them to see what we could do to support our senior center. And for context, my grandmother just died, but she played pinochle there, and it was an absolute lifesaver for her. And it just has an incredibly positive impact in the community. So thank you.
Councilmember, do you think that that would be a good council presentation? Is that what you're looking for, or more of a committee request where there can be maybe more discussion dialogue?
Sure. Or if you wanted to just talk to the county and see what their process is looking like right now and see how we could support, but I would absolutely take your lead.
Okay. We'll talk about that. Thank you. Other council member comments? All right, before I jump into mayor's report, and as Steve pulls that up, Councilmember Tercero alluded to a meeting last week and a conversation that's sort of been ongoing, and I wanted to expound on that just a little bit. Wanted to provide the community with an update because it's been the source of a lot of discussion in our community. At the February 26th council meeting, a draft resolution was given to me and city council from someone from the community for us to consider for adoption. Among other things, the draft resolution mainly requests that the city of Mount Vernon make a public statement to declare that the city will indeed comply with the Keep Washington Working Act of 2019. And just wanted to let folks know that the city has made that declaration. In fact, the city was listed in a recent lawsuit, not that we're being sued, a sheriff's office in the state, not Skagit County Sheriff, is being sued by the state for not complying with this law. And in the lawsuit itself, and if you found the lawsuit and were interested, Section 4, subsection A, item 4.17, cites that the city of Mount Vernon's statement is actually used in that, it's quoted in that lawsuit. And Chief Chrisman, who made that statement on behalf of the city, is just finding this out now, probably. It's being used as an example of how jurisdictions can take a public stance to help build trust within their communities. So we are proud of that, but despite the fact that the city is being commended for doing the right thing, we also are all acutely aware that it only takes one misguided statement to erode that well-established trust. And I think that for me, the language of the resolution that was proposed to us, it demonstrates more than anything that we've taken some steps backwards to be at this place where this lack of trust exists between the city and some of our residents. And I don't have anything against resolutions for sure, but I want more than a resolution. I want an understanding and I want trust to be reestablished here. I mentioned in my comments on February 26th, and I'll reiterate those now, that I believe that so many of the grievances that we have and so much of the misunderstanding in today's political climate can be avoided if we would actually take the time to engage in conversations with each other. And my comments weren't just talk. City Council and I are taking active steps to create that opportunity to have some crucial dialogue with those who have been offended. My hope is that through that direct conversation around a shared table, that the city will have the opportunity to listen, to learn, and to better understand what the expressed concerns are in our community. Because I think we may think we already know what we're doing. We may think that we are already addressing some of those things, but it gives us an opportunity to find out what we're missing and what additional reasonable and legal steps we could maybe implement to ensure that we're doing all that we can to relieve those concerns and those fears that may exist in our community. Spent the past few days reaching out to some community stakeholder groups and inviting them to join me and some council members, our public safety chiefs, our city prosecutor, and to share with us what their perspective is, what their concerns are, and to try to determine if the city can take some additional steps to repair some of the damage that's been done. Heard back from several members on my invitation list, and that list includes the Latinx Advisory Committee, Triumph Teen Life Center, Community to Community, or C2C, Indivisible Skagit's Immigrant Support Task Force. My hope is that we can reach a better understanding through meaningful and direct conversation instead of continually engaging in one-way communication like I'm doing now. It has its limits for sure. So, this committee conversation was a solution that was discussed by City Council at their meeting last week, and I'm just carrying out that directive and looking forward to maybe having some unifying conversations in that space. So that's an update on what's happening with that conversation. But moving on to the mayor's report, I just have a single slide. Wanted to be sure to let everyone know about a community town hall that's being held by our elected leaders from the 40th Legislative District. That's happening this week. This opportunity to engage our legislators, to meet with them, and to ask questions about what's going on in Olympia will be this Saturday, March 15th at 11 a.m. to noon. And this will take place in the Mount Vernon Library Commons Community Room. So write that down, Saturday, March 15th, 11 a.m. at Library Commons. And that is your mayor's report for March 12th, 2025. Thank you, Steve. We are moving on to new business. Under new business, item A is a presentation from the Skagit Valley Clean Energy Alliance. And Special Projects Manager Steve Sexton will introduce this item for us.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. This evening, we do have a presentation from the Skagit Valley Clean Energy Alliance, as the Mayor said. Mary Woleb is here to present an update on the Solarize Skagit program, including some results from 2024, plans for 2025, and their goals for 2025. So with that, I'll go ahead and invite Mary to come up and take over. Thank you.
I'm excited to be here tonight. Can you hear me? Good. Okay, great. I'm short, so. I also have Joan Cross here, who's also on the board of Skagit Valley Clean Energy Alliance. And this is the third year in a row we're pleased to offer solar to Skagitonians at a reduced cost through pre-vetted qualified installers. I'll unpack all those words here in a minute. Oops. Okay, so Skagit Valley Clean Energy Alliance is a 501c3 whose nonprofit whose purpose is promoting local and renewable energy. And we do this through our Solarize campaign, grants for public buildings and public education. The grants for public buildings, we were very successful of getting a grant for LaConner Middle School for solar plus battery storage, since it's an emergency shelter. And since the price of solar and other equipment has gone down, batteries not so much, but the solar has gone down. After we were awarded the grant and the bids came in, we had enough money to go back to the Department of Commerce and actually fund the middle school as well. So we'll have 2 schools with battery backup in our community, and that's exciting. So we're hoping we'll see more of those grant opportunities around in our public buildings. Public education pretty much was been going on through our public meetings and through farmers markets and so on. One of our board members, you can see him, the third one there, Greg Whiting is our technical guru, I would call it, and he was writing articles for local papers about clean energy, which were educational. Unfortunately, the local paper, LaConner Weekly News, is no longer, but there's another LaConner community newspaper coming up, so they'll be picking that up. Our partner is Olympia Community Solar. We're excited to be working with them. They're also a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is an equitable and accessible transition to clean energy. They pretty much are the administrative arm for us. So they manage a lot of the money and a lot of the contracting. So all we need to do is go out and get out to the community and promote the Solarize campaign. So what we'll cover today is how net metering works, about the Solarize campaign, the 2024 results, 2025 timeline and goals, and how the city of Mount Vernon can support us, which they've been wonderful the last couple of years. So how net metering works. Okay, I'm going to do this in a non-technical way. So when the sun is shining and you have your solar panels on your house or on your business, collects energy, and then it's converted from DC to AC so that you can use it in your home. Whatever you're not using gets banked back into the grid. I call it banking because when you don't have enough energy you need for your home, you can withdraw that energy and use it during like the winter months. That's the good news. The not so good news is the one-to-one net metering. That means for every kilowatt that you put into the grid, you get the kilowatt back out when you need to use it. That's sunsetting at the end of December 2025. And there's a long, complicated utility reasons for that. But it's unknown right now if it's what it's going to be. It's probably not going to be one-to-one anymore. It's likely going to be less than that, and we're speculating what that might be. So anybody that's part of the program, as long as they've submitted their permit, they haven't submitted, but as long as their project is permitted by December 25th of 2025, is grandfathered in. So we're really encouraging people, if they've been thinking about it, been on the fence, now's the time to go. Okay, the benefits. So a couple of things. First of all, this is not a new program. This has been around since 2009, back in Portland where it started. And there have been many successful projects from coast to coast, but here's some locally in King County area, in Whatcom County. I also want to note too that the not only is it Skagit County, Whatcom County, Island County, Thurston County, Mason County, and Lewis County that were participating. Last year, also the cities of Kenmore and Walla Walla joined us. And then this year, you'll see the most of the eastern King County cities are joining into the program. So it's very popular and it's very successful. Okay, so the benefits. It's simple, it's affordable, and it's secure. I'll talk about that. Simple. This is really a one-stop shopping system. When somebody signs in to participate for an assessment, one of the pre-vetted installers come out, or actually call them up and set up an appointment. They go out and do an assessment. Person gets a quote, and they make a decision. They go for it. Installation occurs. Also want to note that the installer pretty much does this from soup to nuts. I mean, they take care of the permits, arranging for getting the net metering hooked up, all of it. And all the property owner needs to do is just, enjoy it and generate clean energy. I also want to note that the two installers that we've selected, they went through a very rigorous procurement process, very similar to a government procurement. And they weren't all just low bidder, but we ended up with a price that was really good this year. So somebody who participates and decides to do the solar, they'll qualify for a 30% tax credit. They may qualify. Not everybody does, but they may qualify for a 30% federal tax credit. Of course, there's no Washington state sales tax. This is a limited time group purchase rate. It's limited because the installers can't honor that reduced cost indefinitely. So it goes from March until July 4th. And this year, we're down to $2.45 a watt, which is way down from $2.81 a watt back in 2 years ago. So this is going to bear with me. This was going to be the slide I was going to change, Steve. But anyway, so I want to rename this payback, not return on investment. So this is payback time. And the formula for that is the net amount that you put up front divided by your annual electricity usage. That's pretty much the payback. And so here's the scenario. A typical 1,700 square foot home in Skagit County uses about 13,200 kilowatts a year. That equates to about $1,700 a year. With the solarize, that same kilowatts, that same amount of energy use needs about 12 kilowatts of solar. So that's about the system size that that house would need. That's at $2.45 a watt. You then subtract your 30% tax incentive and you're down to $20,580. That's out of the pocket. Now you look at your electric bill that's been reduced minus your hookup fee, and you end up with $1,632 annually. So essentially what you do is you take that solar incentive divided by your annual savings, and it says return on investment, but it's really the payback is in about 12.6 years. Now, this is a pretty conservative number. We've been hearing that payback is often less than 10 years. But anyway, that's the calculation. And people can use this formula and figure it out for themselves for their own house. There's also a 25-year solar warranty, plus Zillow says in a study that's been done by them that it adds to the home value about 4.1%. So it's secure. The nice thing about this is that, again, Olympia Community Solar, and we participated in that. We did that rigorous procurement process, pre-vetted and selected qualified contractors. This year we have Western Solar and Truly Electric and Solar. And they participated in the last couple of years, and people hands down just love them. And they also were the low cost bidder too. We negotiate the special pricing, and of course we conduct the time limited campaign, which is what I'm doing now. So 2024, countywide, there were about 150 signups. Out of that generated 17 installations and 155.27 kilowatts converted to solar. Not bad, okay? City of Mount Vernon, 46 signups and 6 installations. So that's really good, and we're gonna look to boost that this year. So some of the challenges in the past, we were just late getting the inserts, which is these here, in the utility bills. So, we want to get them in the utility bills. It's usually you working a month ahead. So we're already got everything set to go for this year. Also, I've chatted with staff because we've been working with them, and they recommended, or not recommended, but said that if we want to do not only April stuffing in the utility bill, but May as well. So we're more than wanting to do that and are funding that. The other thing is many can't afford upfront costs, and you saw the cost of this, we are offering a Puget Sound Cooperative Credit Union low interest loans, and that's available for some, but still it's a lot of money for people. And then bottom line is some homes are just not conducive to solar. My house, it's too many trees. So people will go into the system to sign up, and several people, it just doesn't work for them. So often there's other opportunities. And here's just some example of some photos from 2023 and 2024. And I mentioned the low cost from $2.45. The other note I want to make is we're offering made in Washington equipment. Silfab is located, that's a solar panel manufacturer here in Burlington. If you hadn't had a chance to visit the manufacturing plant, it's amazing. They're constantly hiring, so get the word out because they need employees to keep up with the demand. Financing I mentioned, and we're expanding to Eastern King County. Okay, additional services. This is where I want to go. So there are battery backup systems that people could, if they want to be part of the program, want a battery backup system. That's part of the offerings with the installers. Level 2 electric vehicle chargers, as well. And then what I enjoyed was a home energy audit. 2 years ago, they came out to my house and pretty much did an entire evaluation of my home and came up with a checklist for me, including a budget on how much it would cost to get my house as energy efficient as it can be. And I still need to check a number of things off that list. So we're up and running. We have a kickoff April 12th at Maple Hall in the Connor at 10 a.m. So people that are interested and want to meet some of the installers and get some one-on-one time, they can. And then in March through July 4th, we have the campaigns underway, and then we have until the end of the year for the installation. So how you can help? Through communication channels. So I think I've been working with it, not Jennifer, but anyway, some of their staff talking about not only utility mailings, but also best way to get the words out. So if there's somebody with your web pages, your communications person that I can work with, we've got graphics, we've got logos, we've got information and so on that we can share and they can post as appropriate. So contact us. And at this point, I'm going to open it up for questions.
All right, thank you. So council, do you have questions about the program or anything else around it? Yeah, Councilmember Vanderstoot.
Sorry, not a question. I just, because of my day job, I just want it officially noted for the record that I'm recusing myself from anything to do with this.
Okay.
Just so that's out there.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you,
And
Andrew.
this is just informational, no action. But
Yeah. Right.
any other comments or questions, council? All right,
Great. So thumbs up, continuing working with staff and good to go.
thank you for
Great.
that.
Thank you.
All right. Item B under new business tonight is a public hearing and potential adoption of an ordinance. And Development Services Director Stacy Preschner is here to present. Stacy.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council. So this evening, the department would request that council hold a public hearing to accept public testimony on renewing the interim accessory dwelling unit regulations that were originally approved by City Council early in 2024. The department would further recommend that the council deliberate on that testimony this evening. And of course, if it's your pleasure, you can modify, approve, or not readopt the renewal of these interim regulations. So these interim regulations, council will recall, are the local implementation of House Bill 1337. That's part of that suite of legislation that's come out over since 2022 having to do with housing as we approach the periodic update of the comp plan. Now, as such, they are a required element of the city's periodic update of its comp plan, and subsequently will also be part of the update to our development regulations as well. Now, the council may also recall that when the city does and completes its comp plan update, the current interim ADU regulations will need to be updated to be totally compliant with state law. You'll recall that our current comprehensive plan does limit accessory dwelling units with an owner occupancy proviso. This is no longer allowed under state law, and House Bill 1337 describes that. But because it's still in our comp plan, it is also still represented in the current interim regulations. Council will recall, and Kevin's probably reminded you many times, that development regulations do need to be consistent with our comp plan goals and policies so that we don't get into the crosshairs of the Growth Management Hearings Board and end up in appeal. So given that, a schedule for final adoption, pretty much step in step with the comp plan update, is included in Exhibit B of your packet for these interim regulations. Thank you, of course, for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions before you accept any public testimony on these updates.
Thanks, Stacy. Council recalls that this was implemented last year to address housing affordability and availability. It was streamlined and a tool that we had to implement this early. So now just codifying it. Any questions for Stacy? All right. Any motions for ordinance 3909?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that council approve ordinance 3909, which is renewing our ADU interim regulations.
Second.
Motion by Melissa and a second by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ordinance passes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Stacy.
Thank you, Council.
Item C is the approval of the appointment to Skagit County Emergency Management Advisory Board, and Assistant Chief Brian Harris is here to present this item. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Before you tonight to ask that you approve the mayor to talk to myself in the third person, Fire Chief Select Brian Harris to the Emergency Management Advisory Board. Basically, Skagit County Code 9.28.040 establishes a Skagit County Emergency Management Advisory Board for the purposes of advising the Emergency Management Director, the Skagit County Administrator, and the Skagit County Board of Commissioners on matters concerning the coordination of emergency services, disaster-related functions, public agencies affected by private persons, corporations, or organizations. And whereas it goes to describe that there's 16 members appointed to this voting board, one of which is the city of Mount Vernon. The purpose of this action is to facilitate Fire Chief Brian Bryce's retirement, and I would replace him as a representative for the city of Mount Vernon on this board, of course, with your approval and the mayor's appointment.
All right. It got weird there for a second, but we got out of it.
Yeah.
That's good. Any questions for Assistant Chief Harris? Any motions for Assistant Chief Harris?
So moved.
Second.
Was that a motion by Andrew? Okay.
Second.
With dramatic pause,
We
and then
can assign the mayor to this advisory board if you'd like. Yeah.
and a second by Councilmember Carillas. And any more discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes.
Mayor, could you remind us when he officially takes his formal
Yeah,
duties?
what is it, March?
April 1st, Fool's
April
Day.
April Fool.
March 31, April, I don't know
Yeah,
if it's April 1st. Okay, tell Brian Harris, thank you
Will do.
for presenting that item. Item D is reclassification of a position of GIS specialist to GIS and asset management specialist. And joining us online is Public Works Director Chris Phillips. Hello, Chris.
And City Council, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Awesome. City staff recommends the City Council amend the 2025 budget by changing the classification of the new 2025 authorized GIS specialist position, and there with the salary range, to a GIS and asset management specialist. And there you see the range again, it's about $5,000 more. In this, just wanted to let you know that the current position has been budgeted for $95,872, and that those funds will be coming from surface water and the wastewater enterprise funds. There will be no impact to the general fund. In the introduction and background there, for your pleasure, is just a few lessons learned regarding GIS position hierarchy, with, again, the GIS asset management being, or analyst being the data-driven analytical piece. Then you have the asset management specialist, followed by a GIS specialist, and then ultimately, you would go up to being the GIS administrator. So with that, I request the city staff recommends City Council amend the 2025 budget by changing the classification so that we can get this position out for review.
All right. Questions for Chris? All right. Council like a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Andrew and a second by Melissa at the last second. More discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Thank you, Chris. Item E is the approval of an agreement with the city of Anacortes, and he is back. Chris.
Thanks, Mayor. Just for the record, I went nowhere. So city staff recommends that City Council authorize the matter enter into an agreement with City of Anacortes with the purpose of this agreement to allow each party to provide mutual assistance and perform work and services for the other party pursuant to and subject to the terms of the agreement. Such project and or services shall be limited and infrequent in nature and may include, but is not necessarily limited to, and there's a listing of things there that our that our operations division performs. Neither party is obligated to pay, provide, or expand any funds and/or provide and/or perform any other services or duties unless otherwise specified. And as Frank mentioned to you during the Public Works Committee meeting, this just is a level of flexibility for us working with Mount Vernon. We'll offer up the same thing over to Cedar Woolley and the city of Burlington. And again, just provides a little depth in case of something happening. We are provided that level of depth, if you will, if an emergency was to come, because we would basically focus all of our attention through our EOC and ultimately the county's EOC. So if there was any exchange of people and equipment, it could be focused that way. This is just to be able to codify that in some type of a non-emergent situation, pending your questions.
Great. Yeah, as you mentioned, Frank presented this to council. They didn't get a lot of time for questions. So council, if you have questions, Chris can field those. It was pretty straightforward. Any motions to approve this agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Navar and a second by Gary. More discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Thanks again, Chris. Item F is the approval of Martin Marietta Quarry Road relocation, and Parks and Enrichment Director Jennifer Burner will present this item. Jennifer.
Good evening, council. So wanted to thank those council members who were able to make it to last Friday for a tour of the quarry. So thank you for coming and being a part of that. And any other council members that were not able to make it that would still like a tour, let me know and I can certainly arrange that going forward. And then we do have Phil Courtney, the land manager. He is online with us this evening, and he is available for questions if anybody has any additional questions. And we also have in our audience, we have two of the staff members who work at the Mount Vernon Quarry as well. So with that, Martin Marietta leases 58.29 acres of city property to operate the rock quarry out on Hickox Road. The current lease term is set to expire October of 2028. And Martin Marietta is interested in continuing conversations about the possibility of extending that lease. However, right now, the more pressing issue before us is to revise the current reclamation plan map, adjusting the quarry access road location, which requires review and approval from DNR. And so that's why we're here this evening is in your packet, you were able to get the maps of the two different quarry, the roads in there, and I'm wondering if it's online. Do you guys need that up, or do you have it in your packet and you're good? Okay, so I won't worry about trying to get it pulled up here. The renovation is necessary to inform mining operations for the next 1 to 3 years. The Parks Department is in favor of the relocation of the road. It provides access for maintenance and for additional land once the quarry is finished doing their mining. So at this point, the Parks Department is in favor of moving that road to the outside. Relocating the road is a standalone decision and has no bearing on extending the lease. So whatever you decide tonight, it doesn't have any indication on whether you want to stop the lease in 2028 or extend it to 2034. Relocating the road is preferred if the city chooses to allow the lease agreement to end the 2028 or extend the lease agreement. So.
All right. Questions for Jennifer or for our guest, Mr. Courtney, online? Council? Yes, Councilmember Cruz.
I just would like to say thank you for the tour you gave us with the council member Brocksmith and Tercero. It was a beautiful tour, and I never been in a place like that before. And after being there in city papers and read the papers, it makes more connection. Mm-hmm. It looks more real, and just to see how rich our environment is, having those lands there, I really, really enjoy it. and I get better understanding being there. And I think all of us, we need to do that kind of tour. Then for me, if there is no any questions here, I would like to move this motion.
Second. Motion by Udis and a second by Navor. Discussion or more comments? Anyone else want to? All right, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those
Just one
oppo-
more thing I want to say.
Okay,
It doesn't matter what project is going to be there after in a few years. Probably I won't be able to see that, but I don't have a doubt it's going to be beautiful wherever is built there. And I hope my descendant, my grandson, can see that if I am not here to see it. It's going to be amazing. It doesn't matter what project you're going to build there, it's going to be beautiful.
you already got the votes. It is a really cool spot. Those opposed say no. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Item G is the approval of a charter for the Land Use Citizen Advisory Committee, and you just got you sitting up, coming back.
I'm
Okay.
Got a
Thanks for
few
coming back,
items on
Stacy.
the agenda. It is absolutely my pleasure, Mayor and City Council. So good evening again. So tonight, the department would request your consideration of the formation of a citizen advisory committee. This committee would act as an advisory body to the Planning Commission in the support of the development of updated goals and policies for the following elements of the comprehensive plan: housing, land use, and transportation elements. This evening over Zoom, the city's consultant, the principal for OTAC is here. Hi, Mandy. Thank you for being here this evening. Mandy Roberts. After my brief presentation, both Mandy and I will be available to answer any questions about the proposal for the committee. So council may recall that the public participation plan for the periodic update was approved by council via resolution in November of last year. And in that plan, it describes the formation of 2 citizen advisory committees to support the Planning Commission. This is the first one. The second one is on the agenda right after this. So last year's resolution, when it described the formation of the committee, also defined a list of stakeholder groups from whom council may choose membership from. And that would form a committee of approximately 10 to 12 members that would meet on an approximately monthly basis. That's what we proposed in the work plan and charter that was provided in advance of the meeting. Meet on that monthly basis through the life of the comp plan update process, and whose roles and responsibilities are described in some detail in the charter in front of you. If it is council's pleasure to formalize the creation of the committee, we would recommend that next steps would be to bring forth potential interested candidates, a list of their names for the committee based on that stakeholder list, to City Council at their next regular meeting, and then City Council may deliberate, and then if it's their pleasure, choose the membership for this committee at their next meeting or the one thereafter. So, boys, thank you for your attention. Mandy and I are both available to answer any questions about the work plan and charter. Thank you.
Questions for Stacy or Mandy?
Very quick one.
Yeah.
I can't think of any group that wouldn't necessarily be, sorry, for people aren't able to see this. There's a list of 13 potential candidates or places where you could draw from, pools. If somebody doesn't meet one of these criteria, does that preclude them from being able to be a part of this committee?
So the stakeholder list was established via resolution by council. Mandy, I wouldn't think it necessarily negates it. The list is meant to really just cast a wide net. I'll go ahead and let Mandy answer that.
Yeah, no, thanks, Stacy. I think the list was generated for guidance, but I don't think it precludes, others from consideration. I agree with you. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council can change it if they thought it was appropriate.
Absolutely. Council will choose the membership, and it's your resolution to do it as you want.
Fantastic.
Other thoughts or questions?
I'll make a motion that council approve the work plan and the charter through resolutions 1062 and 491.
Second.
Motion by Melissa and a second by Richard. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. All right. Stacy, on to item H.
Yep, sticking around. So item H, substantially similar to what we just discussed. However, this particular charter is for the formation of a citizen advisory committee to act as an advisory body to the Planning Commission in support of the development of climate resiliency goals and policies for the periodic update of the comprehensive plan. Unless it's council's pleasure, I won't repeat the spiel that I just did for the first one about the resolution, et cetera. But again, a stakeholder list that was developed through that resolution that was passed last year. That list is flexible. Council will choose the membership on there, and we would recommend bringing some folks' names forward to you at your next regular meeting. Be happy to answer any questions.
I have a quick question. So this isn't a resolution adoption. This is adoption of a plan. We've adopted the resolution
Yes.
previously. Okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
Questions for Stacy or Mandy? Or motions?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the work plan and charter for the Climate Citizen Advisory Committee.
Second.
Motion by Richard and a second by Andrew. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say no. Motion passes. Thank you, Stacy. I'm
Thank
sure we'll see you up here again tonight sometime.
I feel like you will. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for supporting us with our comp plan efforts like this. Much appreciated.
Item I is the adoption of an ordinance, chapter 10.20 for parking zones, and City Attorney Kevin Rogerson will present this. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. As the Mayor described, what you have before you is a parking ordinance. And by way of context, the city previously, when it began construction of the Library Commons, entered into an agreement with Skagit County. They had a parking area that we needed for a laydown for construction materials, and we were granted a temporary construction easement that expired at the end of the year. We still need that laydown area, so we extended the term until April 1. The consideration in part for the county was that they were going to get some on-street parking. That ordinance expired. Now that we've signed the agreement, we needed to extend the ordinance to April 1 when the agreement expires. And yes, I'm aware that this ordinance, probably when it's effective, will be only effective for about 2 weeks. But it's our duty under the contract to do so.
Thanks for helping us fulfill that duty.
Sure.
Questions for Kevin?
I'd make a motion to approve ordinance 3910.
Second.
A motion by Gary and a question by Melissa. A second by Melissa.
Do you know what we're talking about?
I was waiting for someone else to say something.
Any more relevant discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Thank you, Kevin. Item J is a public hearing and adoption of an ordinance, chapter 1405 for procedures, and Development Services Director Stacy Pratchner has stood back up and walked back to the podium.
Here we are again. Always such a pleasure. Thank you again, Mayor and City Council. So tonight is the continued public hearing. You'll recall that we opened this at the last regular council meeting, an opportunity to accept public testimony on the adoption of local code to implement Senate Bill 5290. This is the recent state legislation whose purpose is to modernize for all fully planning cities in Washington State, to modernize and streamline their local land use permit project review. So the proposed updates to the Mount Vernon Municipal Code enact that state law, including but not limited to adopting specific review timelines, optional pre-application conferences, and also updating of definitions. You'll recall that we had a DS committee review of this back in December, and then we also reviewed with the Planning Commission early in the year as well, and now we are back here. So at the department level, we're already enacting a number of these requirements into our day-to-day permitting functions, including but not limiting to updating our permit software to reflect those new time limits, ensuring that if we get to 2 correction notices on a permit, that we are meeting with our customers to work through any permitting issues, and then also simplifying our notice of complete application requirements to meet those 14-day limits. So I want to thank our legal counsel and staff for putting their work into these red lines. You have them in front of you. They were provided in advance of the meeting. And so to summarize, we would recommend that this evening that council accept that testimony, deliberate on any of those comments and on the code updates. And of course, if it's your pleasure, to approve those changes to code. Thank you, of course, for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about the updates.
Questions for Stacy? Motion to approve the amendments.
This is for a public hearing.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, with that, if there are no questions, but I don't want to cut anyone off, we will open the public hearing for this item. Anyone wishing to speak can come on up to the podium. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. And council, it is open for adoption if you'd like.
Make a motion to approve, is it ordinance 3911?
I'm looking here. Becky, can you help us with that? It is. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, 3911.
Second.
Motion by Richard and a second by Gary. More discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Passes.
Thank you, Mayor and
Thank you,
Council.
Stacy.
That's it from me this evening.
That's not it for Parks Director Jennifer Berner, who's coming back up to the podium for approval of an agreement with Skagit County. Jennifer.
Good evening again, Council. So the county is undertaking a project where they are wanting to redo a bathroom there at the fairgrounds. So what this did is it kind of triggered an opportunity for us to clean up the boundary lines there at the Skagit County Fairgrounds and Sherman Anderson. And so let me see if I can pull it up here for you. Slide here. So both entities are actually conveying property to each other with this boundary line adjustment. You can look at exhibits F and G here, which is the before and after. So currently you can see that this is our current boundary line. This is their restroom right here, and you can see that it goes right through their current restroom that's on the site. This boundary line adjustment, you can see where it now jets in a little bit and comes down, and then we do this little jet out here, which their new restroom will not be as large as the one that they're removing, and so this will allow their restroom to completely sit on their property, which we will be conveying to them that slice there. And currently, our fence line is on county property. And so now that will be able to allow us to have our fence line on our property and their restroom on their property. So makes sense, right? We're able to bring this before you. We're able to get this to work out. And just as another slide here, so you can see here Sherman Anderson. This is the line here that is the fence line. Where we're going to come in a little bit and then carve this out. So they'll have this property back here. The city will retain this little piece of triangle. And so it works out for both parties going forward. The parties mutually agree that the local Skagit County community will benefit by the BLA, and the parties desire to implement and complete the BLA pursuant to the terms of this agreement that is in your packet. So I'm here to answer any questions, and as you saw earlier, Joseph is here from the county if you have any questions that either Kevin or I are not able to answer.
Council questions for Jennifer or Joseph about the boundary line or the bathroom?
Really quickly, I was just wondering, how long has the fence been there?
Long time. I'm not sure of exactly
So
the date.
I think if it's over 10 years,
You can't by operation of law adversely possess public property.
There's that loophole.
Sorry.
never mind.
Well, the summer fair is coming up soon, so we got to get on this. So I'd make a motion to, what am I making a motion to? I'm sorry.
Approve the agreement.
Approve the
interlocal.
agreement as presented.
Yes.
Second.
Motion by Richard and a second by Melissa. Any more discussion or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Thank you. Item L is the approval of an agreement. Coming back up to the podium again is Special Projects Manager Steve Sexton. This is an agreement with Mount Vernon, Burlington, Cedar Woolley, and Anacortes. Steve.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. As the Mayor said, this is the interlocal agreement between the four cities to work together and go out for a singular provider for public defense for all 4 cities. I brought this to you last meeting, and basically this is what, there's a few revisions to it, some wordsmithing. The whole terms stay the same. Really important to have it in here that it gives some options to the cities in some ways to do screening. And Accordis has one system that they want to maintain, and Burlington, Mount Vernon, obviously we share a screening service. I brought that to you previously, so we'll be able to utilize that service as well. And most of it is proportional. Our feed to the public defenders is based on previous year's caseloads. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those or
Open for
comments.
questions, council. Or motions?
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Andrew and a second by Udis. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Thank you, Steve. For item 7, I will direct our city attorney to please call the mayor and city council members into executive session.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd invite the mayor and members of City Council to enter into an executive session on the legal grounds of discussion with legal counsel matter relating to enforcement action, litigation, or potential litigation to which the city, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding such discussion is likely to result in either adverse legal or adverse financial consequence to the city pursuant to RCW 4230-110 subsection 1I. 10 minutes before the executive session, we would convene for no action after at 8:29.
So with that, we will adjourn the City of Mount Vernon City Council meeting for Wednesday, March 12th, 2025 at 8:20 p.m.